Hello, I'm Mayor Brian Franklin, and I would like to introduce you to the wonderful town of Blythewood, South Carolina. Those who live here take great pride in the history and culture of this town, and I would love to tell you a little about who we are and what we have to offer. Blythewood was founded by Native Americans who settled here long ago, naming this area Doko, which means gathering place. And that's exactly what this town is all about. Located just off of Interstate 77, just 15 miles north of Columbia and an hour south of Charlotte, Blythewood is a town rich with tradition, community, and activities, hosting large events year-round that draws crowds from all over the region and across the state, while also serving as a home to many industries and small businesses. Blythewood hosts numerous town events each year to support the people of this community and display the town's history, recreational activities, and supporting the arts scene. From the large celebrations of Black History Month, the 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day, to the annual Blythewood Rodeo, Ribfest, Doko Film Festival, Oktoberfest, and of course, our annual town Christmas tree lighting event. Blythewood has something unique to offer every single month. You might come here for the sporting activities such as the championship caliber University of South Carolina equestrian team, the pristine Cobblestone Park golf course, and our top-notch high school athletic teams and recreation centers. Or you might come to spend the afternoon in our beautiful Doko Meadows Park, where we often host outdoor concerts, a weekly farmers market, and plenty of activities for the kids. Stay for dinner in one of our local restaurants or grab a quick bite to eat at one of the many chain restaurants you will find in our main road before heading home. Blythewood is a growing town, and we offer many benefits to businesses looking for a new home. We have recently partnered with Richland County to set aside 1,350 acres to be used as a light industrial park to attract industry-leading businesses and technical jobs to the town. Blythewood has a unique ability to attract larger industries looking for space to build while still offering many opportunities for small local businesses and eateries to thrive. We have a big vision by anyone's standards with a detailed, comprehensive 10-year plan to get us there. We welcome you to discover Blythewood and enjoy our warm, friendly attitude toward life and each other. Whether you're interested in recreation, business, or finding a new home, we thank you for your interest in Blythewood, and remember, you're always welcome. Hello, I'm Mayor Brian Franklin, and I would like to introduce you to the wonderful town of Blythewood, South Carolina. Those who live here take great pride in the history and culture of this town, and I would love to tell you a little about who we are and what we have to offer. Blythewood was founded by Native Americans who settled here long ago, naming this area Doko, which means gathering place. That's exactly what this town is all about. Located just off of Interstate 77, just 15 miles north of Columbia and an hour south of Charlotte, Blythewood is a town rich with tradition, community, and activities, hosting large events year-round that draws crowds from all over the region and across the state, while also serving as a home to many industries and small businesses. Blythewood hosts numerous town events each year to support the people of this community and display the town's history, recreational activities, and support of the arts scene. From the large celebrations of Black History Month, the 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day, to the annual Blythewood Rodeo, Rib Fest, Doko Film Festival, Oktoberfest, and of course, our annual town Christmas tree lighting event. Blythewood has something unique to offer every single month. You might come here for the sporting activities such as the championship caliber University of South Carolina equestrian team, the pristine Cobblestone Park golf course, and our top-notch high school athletic teams and recreation centers. Or you might come to spend the afternoon in our beautiful Doko Meadows Park, where we often host outdoor concerts, a weekly farmers market, and plenty of activities for the kids. Stay for dinner at one of our local restaurants or grab a quick bite to eat at one of the many chain restaurants you will find in our main road before heading home. Blythewood is a growing town, and we offer many benefits to businesses looking for a new home. We have recently partnered with Richland County to set aside 1,350 acres to be used as a light industrial park to attract industry-leading businesses and technical jobs to the town. Blythewood has a unique ability to attract larger industries looking for space to build while still offering many opportunities for small local businesses and eateries to thrive. We have a big vision by anyone's standards with a detailed, comprehensive 10-year plan to get us there. We welcome you to discover Blythewood and enjoy our warm, friendly attitude toward life and each other. Whether you're interested in recreation, business, or finding a new home, we thank you for your interest in Blythewood, and remember, you're always welcome.
Testing, testing. Right, there you go. Sorry to wake you up. We're going to be a couple of minutes late starting. Goodness, that is loud. One of our commissioners is a bit late in getting here because of traffic, so we'll just wait on him. Give him another 4 or 5 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've just heard that our late arrivee is going to be like 20 minutes late, so we'll make a start now, and if there's still room for him to participate, then all well and good, and if not, well, that's life. Here we go. So, without further ado, I'll call this meeting of the Blythewood Planning Commission to order on today's date, September 6th. Thank you all for coming. I'll just run through the agenda item by item if you haven't got a copy in front of you. So the first order of business is a roll call. Mr. Wilson, if you can conduct the roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Malcolm Gorge.
Here.
Ed Kessler. Erica Page. Here. Marcus Taylor. Here. Kenny Coleman. Jamal Mosley. Martin Wells. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That provides the quorum for this evening. And can you confirm that the agenda has been posted and the press notified in accordance with state law?
Yes, both occurred.
Thank you. And commissioners, can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda will be followed as presented. If you'll join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Very good. Next item is to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which the Commission has seen in their packet. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Any questions, alterations? Thank you. We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Thank you. Very good. So we can move right on to the important business of the evening, which is to approve a zoning map amendment. Has anybody signed in to speak? Thank you. Looks like we have one brave person. Okay, we would like to give the residents opportunity to make their comments in advance of the presentation. So we have Mr. Sadusky would like to make some comments. Bob, would you like to step up and say what you wish to say? There will be, yep. You can do so by all means. All right. So I know we have Mr. Rubel and representatives from the developers here tonight. So can I invite you up to the microphone and explain your application? Please give your name and qualifications.
Be a green light. Okay, there we go. Chairman, thank you. Commission members, thanks for having us in here today. My name is Jeff Rubel. I'm the Economic Development Director for Richland County. Appreciate your receipt of this request. And if it's okay, what I'd like to do is just kind of give a little bit of background and then certainly open it up to any questions. As you may recall, the county had been looking at this as an industrial site for decades, going back to the early 90s. I think the state had put this property under option. In the last few years, we approached the landowners. They had any number of knocks on the door from potential residential developers, and we were in discussions with them. And we recognized this was a pretty large tract with a lot of good infrastructure. It might be one of the last big opportunities we had on I-77 to create a space for economic development. We started entering into conversations with you guys, with town council. Mr. Gord, you were on town council at the time, but we kind of made sure we were in lockstep with the town at the time. In November 2019, we went ahead and purchased the property, and in doing that, we rezoned a portion of the property. I think it was rural to light industrial, LI2 as the zoning code. We bought property along the frontage along Blythewood Road, essentially playing defense. The county borrowed $26 million roughly to buy the property. And we didn't want to put that kind of investment into a Class A industrial park and leave into question what would be on the front door. We weren't sure what kind of commercial development would pop up in front of us. So that was essentially the only reason we purchased that frontage. I guess after we closed on the property, we thought, okay, we're not commercial developers. We don't do retail. We don't do hotels. We're industrial. We're recruiting tax base and payroll. So we came to the town at that time and said, hey, this is your town. Help us find a way forward here. Let's plan this together. And we hired the Urban Land Institute. They used something called a technical assistance program. And I think a number of you participated in that program. They came back to us with some recommendations on what to do with that property. On the side, they kind of pulled us aside and said, there's no way you'll ever develop this now. The landscape of bricks and mortar retail has changed dramatically just with the pandemic, with the rise of Amazon. People just shop differently. And we recognized then, and they even had it in their recommendations, taking some of that property and developing it as industrial. So we kind of knew, even back when we did that TAP program, that we were going to come back for a rezoning request sooner or later. Second thing that's really occurred is we didn't know quite how the property would develop. I mean, we knew it was a good industrial site. There are some creeks and ponds and that sort of thing on the site. So, we used our partners, our civil engineering partners. John Colbreth here behind me is the head of the local Thomas & Hutton engineering office. They did some master planning for us, and what we thought would occur would be a number of buildings. And they're not small buildings, say 300,000 feet, 500,000 feet. We even had space for a 1 million square foot facility. We thought that's how it would develop. Over the course of the past few years, it's been a real change in the economy. I joke that when Todd Davenport's our deputy director, he and I started in the early 90s. If we saw a $20 million project, that was a big deal. A $100 million project came off the fax machine. We were running up and down the aisle, up the hallway going, look what we got. Now, there's so many billion-dollar projects looking, large single-user projects. And this is one of the few sites in the state that can accommodate that. So what does that mean? That means that we would have potentially one big user, and they would have one big footprint instead of kind of dodging the wetlands all over the site. And in laying it out, we've courted any number of companies, and I can tell you for the record, we haven't signed up anybody. We are not, there's no done deals. This is all still hypothetical. But every time we've done a layout, the layouts have been pushed to the northeast of the site. And the reason for that is because the northeastern portion of the site impacts the least amount of wetlands. And any of you that know civil engineering knows that impacting wetlands costs a lot of money. So to mitigate those, we have to buy wetlands credits and that sort of thing. So that has pushed most of the layouts for a single user, that northeast corner. So those two things really are driving our request is we don't think there's as much need for all that brick and mortar retail commercial development. And then second, the best layouts tend to be pushing to the northeast. We still would want to maintain buffer. We don't want to change anything according to covenants and restrictions. We're not going back on anything, but just internally within the park, we just want to change the uses of some of the zoning. That's probably more than I should have said, but I thought I'd go ahead and try to paint the big picture. Certainly I can answer any questions or address anything you like.
Thank you, Mr. Rubel. Commissioners, have you any questions or comments?
I do. Hey. So, with regards to what's on the industrial park that's on exit 24, do you know what the occupancy rate is currently with regards to those buildings that exist? For a number of years, there was occupants, and then they vacated. Do you know by chance?
Remind me, exit
Wilson,
20.
yeah,
Wilson Boulevard.
And you got Belk Distributors that was there. You used to have Bose there. So do you know?
Yeah, they're all occupied pretty much. The Bose building there's a company called Lula Row that's there, and then Belk still occupies the building. I know they've discussed bankruptcy, but they're still occupying it and operating. And pretty much that whole park, we call it the Carolina Pines Industrial Park. It is all occupied. The park on the other side, North Point Industrial Park, is fully occupied, and Mr. Gorge worked at a manufacturing plant there. He was one of the leaders, so he can probably speak a lot to that.
I think that's one of my biggest concerns is to have unoccupied, these huge, massive buildings and landscape, and that's committed, and then we're not able to, repurpose it in a usable manner, and I know that's one of my main concerns. And then also when we were discussing this project, I think it was earlier this year, did we not have a portion of this as a desired green space? Because I know we are at battle with having appropriate within the county, especially out here, the green space is a huge problem to us and to our citizens. So I cannot recall if you by chance have that information.
I should have brought that here, but there was a section there that in that design that was kind of like for detention to handle all the stormwater. I know there was an area kind of designated for that. I don't know if that's what you were thinking about as far as this is with the Urban Land Institute. They had a variety of uses. They had a lot of some residential on there, and some commercial up front and to the east.
There was even discussion
I
about
think the only green space part of that I was thinking about was kind of the part, they did just kind of a rough design, just said, okay, let's send all the stormwater to this one unoccupied area. And that's the only.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion with regards to, having a big company sponsorship with regards to a baseball park. Or
yes, and the recreation, yes, to the west. Yeah, that was talked about for sure.
Is that part of what we are discussing here this evening?
No, because that's actually, if you look on that map, that GC, it was roughly matched up with that recreation, and that's in the county. Actually, that's not even in the town, but that was the section of it, because that's also owned by the economic development, and so they incorporated that as part of the proposal. That was where they were kind of talking about a recreation area.
I know that's one of my biggest concerns is with
Yes, ma'am. And when we did the master planning, we plan for keeping green areas, and it's kind of the good and the bad. I was talking about the wetlands like they're a bad thing, but it's actually hardwoods that we'll probably never touch. So that lends itself to keeping a lot of green space. But we do have buffers and pretty substantial buffers built into the entire park, so that if you're driving out of Cobblestone, you'll never be looking at the side of an industrial plant. You'll be probably looking at the same scenery you would see now.
And with regard, one more thing, I'm so sorry. Spears Creek, Church Road out there, they have an industrial park. Do you know what the current developments of that is? Because I know that's been something that's been there for quite some time, and it seems as though it hasn't really been developed, but maybe, I know there's a lot of growth going on, road expansion, lights, lots of heavy traffic with regards to the population out there. So by chance, do you know anything about that?
I do. So if you get off and you take a left and a left, there's an small industrial park there. Mm-hmm. That is, I know AMBAC is located there now, a few other companies. On the right was a Verizon call center, and that is unoccupied. That's probably what you're thinking about.
Yeah, I knew that was a Verizon call center for quite some time, but I know that there was a side road going to an industrial park, and whether or not that had fully developed or what the occupancy there is, again, just trying to look for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the Verizon call center, they still employ everybody. They just started working from home. Mm-hmm. Kind of a sign of the times, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Kessler.
My main concern is a couple things. There's a significant difference between permitted uses under the town center as opposed to the LI2. When you look at the description of businesses that are offered in the LI2, it's significantly different. And not knowing exactly what business or what type of business is going to occupy or come into that space, it concerns me. It concerns me also from the standpoint that we just completed about a year, 18 months ago, a comprehensive plan in which we designated this area to be town centers. And I think it was along the hopes of eventually, downtown Blythewood moving across the interstate, and we have the type of special buildings, retail space, etc., along Blythewood Road. And I'm just not quite, I just can't get comfortable with giving a blank check to do an LI2 when I look at what our intentions were and what we tried to do with the comprehensive plan in the property down Blythewood Road.
Yes, sir. I understand. Yeah.
I'm always working about, setting the precedent. By doing this, we've already been down that road. We were down that road a couple months ago. Somebody wanted to change the zone. It doesn't make me feel.
Yes, sir. And Chairman Gorge and I had this same conversation, pretty much exact same concern. So what I would suggest to you is the commercial will follow wealth. So that's what we're trying to do, is create wealth. So it's better paying jobs. The tax base, we talked about that. 80% of the tax base goes to Richland too. So it's not like the county's building a gold mine down there, or we're not lining our pockets. We're doing this for Richland School District too. What we're hoping to do is create substantially higher paying jobs. So the ability to do this rezoning just makes us more competitive. If we create, I'm just using an example, let's just say we created 1,000 jobs and they paid $50,000 to $100,000 or something along those lines, that's going to drive your commercial development. And whether that occurs in that little section of Blythewood or it occurs somewhere else, it will occur. I mean, commercial is going to find, the stores will find the customers. What this does is makes us more competitive for one of those big users. So the conversation we had was, I get it, that's the trees, but don't lose track of the forest. The forest is, we know that's industrial. We're trying to win something big eventually. Nothing immediate, but that will drive your commercial growth, and that'll drive the income for the community too.
How many acres do you have right now?
Total?
Total that you identify as a
1,349. Yes, sir.
significant amount.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to have this particular rezoning accomplished in order to have other sites available.
That's correct. Yes, sir. It's just because of the wetlands, this tends to be the most attractive. And we want to honor what our commitments to you, which was to maintain a buffer.
Can you give us some idea as to the timeline for the planning and development of the industrial park?
You mean, help me, how do you mean? You mean like with, when we'll start selling something, you think?
Well, right. The number of years as far as construction and doors open for business and so forth.
Yes, sir. You know, we were almost a little bit like the dog that caught the car when we bought it. So we bought it in November of 2019. We continue to do master planning. We did that ULI plan. Be honest, we could sell the property tomorrow if we wanted to a developer. Any number of big national developers that come in. The problem, our challenge there is that they just want to build big boxes. They'd grade the place flat like a Walmart parking lot. I shouldn't say that in public, but you know what I'm saying. They would just grade it flat, and they'd have big warehouse users coming in. And while that does establish a certain amount of tax base, it doesn't create the jobs we're after. We're trying to create opportunities for folks. And a warehouse job is significantly better than something else that we could create. Again, we're looking to really push the wage rates up in the market. So we've turned down a lot of offers. We're still in negotiations with some national developers. We might be able to use them in certain spots, but we've really been kind of picky about who we're going to sell this to if we sell it.
And is there a model somewhere in the nation that you're using to say, yeah, we could see this happening in this 1,400 acres, 1,300 acres in this town, and that would fit into their strategic 10-year plan?
Yes, sir. I mean, this occurs pretty much all across the Southeast, and I'm not sure I'm the best person to say here's the model that we've copied from Topeka, Kansas, or St. Paul, Minnesota, or wherever, but this is a pretty tried and true method, which is to control the property, to plan it, to do all the homework, so that if a user shows up, you can minimize the time between them making a decision and them being able to produce a product. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's good.
Mr. Rubel, you said you're being picky about the type of industries that you would like to see put in place there. LI2 has a wide range of potential industries. Can you give us any idea of what you're going for, what your preferences are, or the ideal client to suit your expectations?
Yes, sir. We're primarily interested in knowledge economy jobs, so technology-oriented companies. I can tell you also what we don't want. We don't want big smokestacks. We don't want loud companies that make a bunch of noise or too much light or odor. We're not after those heavy. We're not going to put an aluminum smelter or there's a lot of heavy industry that big tract like this might attract, but we're not interested in any of that. We want something to be unobtrusive to the citizens. And the thing I'd mention, I think you and I talked about this too. I understand you folks' concerns. You're asking great questions. You're posting great concerns because that's your job. Too often we've seen developers come in and buy the cheapest tract of land they can and plant as many homes as they can on it with one road in and out. And they walk off to Atlanta or Charlotte with their pockets full of money, and they leave us with all the problems. And I say that, I've worked for the county, so we're in the same boat as the town. But you've inherited that over and over and over. And the thing I would emphasize to you is we were here before we bought this property. We were having conversations with you. When we rezoned it, we were here with you. We're not going anywhere. As we develop, we'll be doing it in lockstep with you. We're not abandoning you. We're in this for the long haul with you. We are you. We are your county. We're not going anywhere. I don't know if I said that the right way, but I want to emphasize it. We're not flocking to Atlanta and leaving you with problems.
Thank you. A couple of real detailed points, but the map that we have here shows that the width of the area that would remain as town council is 250 feet from the right-of-way. Would that be from the new right-of-way? Because Blythewood Road is going to be widened by 24, 25 feet, something like that. So that measurement ought to be from the new right-of-way so that we don't lose any of that 250.
Can I do? I know I sound like I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't. John Colbreth has done all the civil engineering on this. Could I defer to John to address the? Sure.
Yes, sir. We recognize that as well, compared because we were looking at the website, and it wasn't GEHA with our CAD files. So what we did is we created this new map showing 300 feet from the new right-of-way. So instead of 250, we put the new right-of-ways in and then added another 50 foot. And we also showed a 25-foot buffer along Blythewood Road to be landscaped. So I didn't know who gets these, but Ty's getting it out. You have to get really close in here. But so we did edit the map because of what we found, and any industry that we would be looking at would want a good front door, as they say, which will still allow for commercial development, but it'll also make it a lot more attractive on the front driving down Blythewood Road. But you can see from the map that was done from the website to the new, basically if you look in that corner where they're doing the work on near the interchange, that's where you can really tell that we put the new right-of-way in. It kind of looks the same as you move down the road, but in general, that's the indication. So we would offer this as an amended map to the application, showing the landscaping buffer and the extra 50 feet. Well, basically, we went from 250 TC to 275 TC with a 25-foot buffer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, any further questions? And just to clarify in my own mind, 250 feet or 350 feet is quite a considerable setback from the main right-of-way, which would allow development for most typical town centre businesses.
Yes, sir. In our experience from doing the commercial development side, we have one of those guys that specializes that in my office. He's a senior, been doing it for a very long time. And any way we put entrances, you could backdoor those entrances, and you still have parking in the back, and you can put your building along the front. So you actually hide your parking from the back, and still allows for the industrial development. And then how they connect could be associated with sidewalks or whatever, however they decide, because somebody's going to want to eat. I think the TC to the right, off of the other side of the road, is going to beat us to the punch, but on the other side of community. But in general, it is definitely still developable.
Thank you.
If the county and town so choose to sell it, I mean.
Mr. Ruppel, I believe you made one comment that I was just kind of wanting to make sure I understood correctly that, you guys are trying to retain this particular project as the county, but should you find somebody that's willing to purchase it under the right conditions or whatnot, you would be willing to sell it at the right price.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly right.
I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, we're looking for an end user, somebody to create jobs and invest a lot of money.
Yeah, and then you guys would be removed out of the picture.
Yes, ma'am, but we do have covenants and restrictions that guide the development of the park, and so whoever develops there would have to adhere to those. So there's still guides. There's still limits to what anybody could do.
Yeah.
So we're guaranteeing responsible development.
And we don't have anybody on the table with regards to any drafts or anything of companies at this point for the property.
No, ma'am. There's nothing signed, nothing negotiated.
Or even marketing
we spend a fair amount of time out there showing it to people. It's a popular site. I mean, it's one of the best sites in South Carolina. But no, nothing's done.
So what are they building out on Fairfield off of 77? They cleared off a huge tract of land. It looks like Fairfield County. It might be going into Chester, if you all know. If you don't mind me asking.
If I may.
Yeah.
That is associated with just basically doing a mass graded pad, kind of like what we've already done at Blythewood Industrial Park. We did 300,000 square feet. Fairfield County has taken the opportunity with their partners, which are the power companies and some other folks, and decided to clear and kind of do some rough grading. It's by no means ready for industry. They also replaced the bridge that came to them for them because, things have to happen. That park is, in my opinion, on its way, but nowhere as close as where you guys are.
Okay.
To be frankly honest.
Yeah, I appreciate
and
that.
I've been doing this for 20-something years, and that one's not ready yet.
Yeah, it was just something that caught my eye in the last couple of weeks.
It's a lot of movement, and it draws a lot of attention, but there's nothing. We're not actively marking that site at the moment.
If there are no other questions from the commissioners, Mrs. Zabowski, would you like to step forward now with your comments? You're well known, but if you state your name and address for the record.
Almost the same as the gentleman from Ukraine.
No, right. Well, could you speak into the microphone for the folks that are tuning in? Thank you. I have the same problem.
Does this work now? Okay. If I'm correct in what I assume I heard, you're going to make one large plot out of all these, and one corner of them is going to come right across over by where there's a local farmer's market, a little tomato stand, a gentleman over there, right over by where the rodeo is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it'll come. Now, what that's going to do is plug up the rest of the whole area there that, in talking about our 10-year plan, we wanted to do something that would eliminate or alleviate at least some of the traffic, and that's just an ideal place to put stuff. If I was going to build a hotel like the one we just had here this past year, that would be where I would choose, and I'd put my entrance and egress, ingress, right there. Now that's going to add rooms for people to sleep in. It's also going to create cars to get back into the mix of the circle that we've been talking about. And it can't help but taking some of the good property that's there, like those beautiful 100, 200-year-old trees. Anyway, I think that property can be developed, but I don't know if what we're talking about here with all these mom and pop shops is the right way to go. I think it's important that if at the next time we come back and think about that piece of property we were just talking about, that we have to have a plan before we can vote on it. What we're doing now, and this is no offense to any of you all, is just taking your word for it. But for every honest person, there's a dishonest one. And it's just, we need to have a plan to go forward that is pretty straightforward, and it's got to have the circle, this extra all of this property, or how to develop that, the setbacks. If you go down Community Road even further than what we're talking about right here, there's a lot of small businesses down there, but they're set way back. There's a nice buffer of land there, and people don't even know there's stuff in there. How many of you all know there's a great big moving company in the middle of that plot back up? You'd never know it unless just one day you're like me, you get nosy. Hey, what's going on here? And you go down there and you see all these moving trucks and everything. They're friendly neighbors. Nobody even knows they're there. So that means that they fit in. And that's what we would look for in something like this. I'm not opposed to progress, but I am opposed to just hodgepodge developing that don't do any good to anyone. So I wish you to consider that you deny this, but leave the door open if, in fact, you could have a comprehensive plan for this 100 and some acres. That might be a better way to do it, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Zadowski. Very good. Okay, commissioners, you've heard the testimonials. Are there any more comments?
I do. I want to ask Carol and Kirk, what are y'all are suggesting at this time?
So all the staff really looks at is compliance with the comprehensive plan, and obviously for the comprehensive plan, the future land use map showed all this as town center because that's what the zoning is. So it wasn't contrary to that, but I did look at the goals that are in the comprehensive plan, and one of them is to work with the county to develop the industrial park as a partner. And so based on that, and so I would recommend approval just to support that goal, because I think this supports that. So I certainly understand. I I think just based on the overall big picture of what the goals were for the town, and that's what they based the recommendation on.
Okay. Ask one more question.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry, but I do have one more question. So this isn't something that should we have a player or somebody that was willing to purchase or wanting to, have some kind of commitment to us with regards to the development. It would not be something that we could look at that time. Like, is it,
Yes, ma'am, I understand. Yes, and the answer is yes, it is something you could look at. The covenants are that set up a park committee. It's a 3-person committee, and the town has already appointed a representative for that committee. Councilman Brock is here with us today, and he's the town's appointment to that committee. So yes, you'll have an opportunity to review any plans that are submitted to the town and weigh in on them. I just want to address that real quickly. Thank you for your comments, sir. I don't ask you just to take my word for it. Those covenants and restrictions are recorded. That's in writing. There are commitments to buffers, the whole 9 yards. And just to go back and address the retail again, if you're opening a store, you're counting rooftops. You're seeing how much expendable income is in the market. They're going to find you. When we recruit industrial, it's competitive. I mean, they can go to Monroe, North Carolina, or Statesville, Georgia, or they can come here, and often they do go to those places. So we're fighting tooth and nail to create the higher-paying jobs and tax base. And the tax base, I'll remind you, you have the highest taxes here in this community of just about anywhere in the country. And that's because you don't have the tax base. You don't have these big industrial plants. These things are like the goose that laid the golden egg. They help keep your taxes down. So there is a specific good thing about doing this. You've got to be competitive or your taxes are just going to go through the roof. So I'm going on and on, so I apologize, but I just want to make sure we were clear. Thank you.
Taxes are a whole different subject with regards to Richland County, for sure. So I don't even think we can even, there's not enough time if they'd like. But Councilman Brock, would you mind maybe speaking a little bit about your involvement or with regards? Okay. Appreciate it.
Hey, my thing is, like you said, 275 feet. That's a pretty good buffer, and there's still town center, and we control that part to do what we need to do with that.
That's what you get for being late, I guess. All right. Hey, so first and foremost, saying my apologies to everyone here. If you drive up and down the road to Charlotte, you know that ride is no joke coming in, so I appreciate you still allowing me to be here and present with everyone today. The only question that I really have is going through the list of all of the prospective options of what could be built on behalf of the city. Are there any environmental or air quality concerns that have not already been considered that could impact citizens that are either close to or within distance of where the facilities are going to be established? And it may have been discussed earlier, again, penalty of not being here, but I'd like to at least be informed.
Well, first of all, the state of South Carolina requires an air permit package to be submitted. In this particular case, anything that we have seen thus far in this scenario, which we have not won, unfortunately, has been very clean-oriented, renewable type scenarios, and they don't generate the smokestack of fuel. The DHEC permitting scenarios that are in place now, you can't even build the facility unless you have the proper environmental controls and meet the particular matters for any VOCs at all. So you won't see, as Jeff alluded to, you won't see aluminum smelting plants or cable. Those are great. Those are great in some places, just not here. Which is not what they're marketing to. by any means. But DHEC controls that, and they can't go vertical unless they meet the state and EPA requirements. There are also federal requirements they have to meet.
Okay. So it's not necessarily, it's not my major concern. I'm not worried about vertical proliferation of creating smokestacks. My bigger concern goes back to what Erica was discussing earlier, with you still looking at options for who may potentially acquire the land down the line. Will they have the same vision as you, or is the town going to be expected to take calculated risk in moving forward with this project?
It's hard to know, discuss hypotheticals, but yeah, I mean, I think when we're talking to companies, we're doing it with you in mind. We're not thinking, oh, how can we get something over on the town of Blythewood. We recognize that we are in the town of Blythewood. So again, we're not planning on doing anything that you guys don't want. We're trying to recruit the types of companies that you would want to have here. I don't know if I said that, but you get the message. We get it. You don't want something ugly out there, and we loud and clear. We got it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all, everybody, for your input. Commissioners, are you ready to make a motion for this action item? Just remember, we're making a recommendation for Council's consideration.
Mr. Chairman, good. Just also, if Planning Commission wants to consider what was submitted tonight, then that needs to be part of the motion.
Okay. So, and I do apologize. I think there was some mention about having us being a contender, this project being a contender with a couple of companies, and we lost. Can you elaborate the reasons why we lost, perhaps? Is that true? Did I understand that correctly?
No, the way the process works is you get numerous RFIs, which is a request for information. You don't know what they are, who they are, how it works. But in different times, companies make different decisions. There has been some situations where we've had to discuss this zoning scenario.
Okay.
But quite honestly, we put them fears to rest. Like, hey, we're here now, right? Which kind of prompted this whole conversation so that we can try to, one, we recognize things that Jeff had said, and is in your own report, the brick and mortar has changed. It's not the same as it used to be. Unfortunately, I tend to like going to a store personally. Second of all, the conversation was coming up more often, so we thought we would just try to remove that. But it had no means anything to do with why they went somewhere else. There's numerous reasons why a company makes their decisions, and the ones that happen here had nothing to do with us or what we were doing. Sometimes you make the first round, sometimes you make the second round, sometimes you make the third. You just never know. We're always happy to make the third because then we start doing some real business, but nothing like that to date. But we have shown it before, and we will continue to do so in the mind of the master plan and the zoning and the things that y'all allow us to do. Did that answer? I didn't mean to walk away.
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you. Yep.
All right. Are we done? Is anyone able to move a motion for this action item?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the zoning map amendment.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second.
Mr. Chair, can you just clarify which?
Thank you. Yeah, and the motion relates to the revised schematic that was presented this evening by Thomas Hutton.
Yes.
Confirm?
Just so, I mean, they can put that 25-foot wide landscape buffer on there, but that has nothing to do with the zoning. So the request is the 300 feet off the right of way.
Mr. Wilson, would you do a roll call so that there's no confusion about the outcome?
Marcus made the motion. Made the motion, Mark. Correct. You made the motion. Okay. Malcolm Gorge.
Aye.
Ed Kessler. Erica Page.
Aye.
Aye.
Ken Coleman.
No.
Martin. I'm sorry. Martin Wells.
Aye.
Final vote tally reads 4 ayes, 2 noes.
The ayes have it. Thank you. The recommendation goes forward to recommend the zoning change in accordance with the revised schematic that was presented this evening. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is any other business. I don't think there is any.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Maybe.
I just wanted to update you on the last meeting. We talked about the request for proposals for the rewrite of the zoning ordinance, and we received 2 bids on that, and they're pretty far apart. So I'm actually working with the chair at the possibility of putting them back out for bid, just because of what we got. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update on where we are with that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any open citizens' comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. See what happens. We cancel meeting.